Once again, welcome to all of you. Today I am here with third part of Evans tries an O level. I hope you'll enjoy this part also. Up to now we have come to know that we have one prisoner, Evans, who is in the jail and he is willing to complete one course O level exam, and for that purpose he has requested the authorities and that is granted, and the day has come when there is a exam and everybody is afraid, everybody is suspecting that it can be a plan and he may try to escape. Let us see what goes on. In the little lodge just inside the prison's main gates, the Reverend S. McCleary signed his name neatly in the visitor's book and thence walked side by side with the silent prison officer across the exercise yard to D wing, where he was greeted by Jackson. The wing's heavy outer door was unlocked and locked behind them. The heavy inner door the same, and McCleary was handed into Stephen's keeping. "Get the razor," murmured Jackson. Stephens nodded. "Well, keep your eyes skin clear." Stephens nodded again, and McCleary, his feet clanging up the iron stairs, followed his new guide and finally stood before a cell door where Stephens opened the peephole and looked through. That's him, sir." The word meanings are: lodge means cottage, murmur, whisper, clanging means make a sound, keep one's eye skin means to be on alert, and peephole means keyhole. And now it is time for explanation. The priest McCleary signed his name in the visitor's book at the gatehouse. He then followed the prison officer through the exercise yard to D wing. There he was greeted by Jackson. The heavy outer door of the D wing was opened and then shut behind them. The same happened when they entered through the inner door. McCleary joined Stephens. Jackson ordered Stephens to remove the razor from the cell. Stephen agreed. He also told him to keep a close watch. McCleary made a vibrating sound while climbing up the stairs, following his new guide. When they reached the entrance of the cell, Stephens opened the peephole and informed McCleary that he was the person who had to take the exam. Now text. Evans, facing the door, sat quietly at the farther of the two tables, his whole attention riveted to a textbook of elementary German grammar. Stephens took the key from its ring and the cell lock sprang back with a thudded metallic twang. It was 9:10 a.m. when the governor switched on the receiver. He had instructed Jackson to tell Evans of the temporary little precaution. That was only fair, as if Evans would not spot it. But was not it all a bit theatrical? Schoolboys? Almost. How on earth was Evans going to try anything on today? If he was so anxious to make another break, why in heaven's name had not he tried it from the recreational block? Much easier, but he had not. And there he was now, sitting in a locked cell, all the prison officers on the alert, two more locked doors between his cell and the yard, and a yard with a wall as high as a haystack. Yes, Evans was as safe as houses. Word meaning: rivet, fixed, sprang, past tense of spring, thudded, heavy sound, twang, strong ringing sound, haystack, a packed pile of hay, dried grass. And now explanation. Evans was sitting quietly, facing the door slightly away from the two tables. He was concentrating on the elementary German grammar. Stephens took on Stephens took one of the keys from the ring and opened the lock. The lock of the cell made a ringing sound after it sprung up. At 9:10 a.m., the governor switched on the receiver of the microphone. He ordered Jackson to tell Evans to be careful, as they had installed a microphone in his cell. He thought that it would be good forewarn him. He said it in a way as though Evans would never be able to spot it. A thought came to the governor's mind that all this seemed like a theatrical drama, and all their preparations were like those done by schoolboys. He thought that how could Evans think of escaping that day? He could have tried it when he was at recreational block, because it was easier to escape from there. But today he was locked in his cell. All the officers were closely watching him. There were two doors between his cell and the yard. There were walls as high as piles of dry grass. Yes, Evans was totally safe now. Anyway, it would not be any trouble at all to have the receiver turned on for the next couples of hours or so. It was not as if there was going to be anything to listen to, was it? Amongst other things, an invigilator's duty was to ensure that the strictest silence was observed. But still that little nagging doubt. Might Evans try to take advantage of McCleary? Get him to smuggle in a chisel or two? Or a rope ladder? Or... The governor sat up sharply. It was all very well getting rid of any potential weapon that Evans could have used. But what about McCleary? What if, quite unwittingly, the innocent McCleary had brought in something himself? A jackknife, perhaps? And what if Evans held him hostage with such a weapon? What meaning, sir? Smuggle means to take someone or something illegally. Chisel, a long blade. Potential, possible. Unwittingly, unknowingly. Jackknife, a large knife. Hostage means to make captive. Now explanation. The governor thought that there will be no problem if he keeps the receiver switched on, although he knew that there was nothing to listen, because it is the duty of the supervisor to maintain silence. But he was still in doubt. He was worried about Evans taking undue advantage of McCleary. He could have smuggled him to take long-bladed hand tool or a rope ladder. The governor at once got alert. He thought that they had taken away all the possible weapons from Evans, but there were chances that McCleary could have brought some weapon unknowingly with him, such as jackknife, which is a large knife with a folding blade. Even Evans could hold him captive by forcing the prison officers to release him. The governor reached for the phone. It was 9:12 a.m. The examinee and the invigilator had already been introduced by Stephens when Jackson came back and shouted to McCleary through the cell door, Can you come outside a minute, sir? You too, Stephens. Jackson quickly explained the governor's worries, and McCleary patiently held out his arms at shoulder level whilst Jackson lightly frisked his clothes. Something hard here, sir. My reading glasses, replied McCleary, looking down at the spectacle case. Jackson quickly reassured him, and bending down on the landing, thumb flicked the catches on the suitcase. He picked up each envelope in turn, carefully passed his palms along their surfaces, and seemed satisfied. He riffled cursorily through a few pages of Holy Writ and vaguely shook the church times. All right so far? But one of the objects in McCleary's suitcase was puzzling him sorely. Frisk means to check, a riffle means turning pages quickly, sorely means with a great intensity. And now it is time for explanation. The governor called up someone at 9:12 a.m. Stephens had already introduced the supervisor and Evans, who had to appear for the exam. Just at that moment, Jackson came and asked McCleary to come outside for a minute. He explained about the governor's reasons for being worried. McCleary cooperated him in the checking process by holding out his arms so that he could be checked. Jackson started checking him very fast. He then found something hard, which McCleary said was his reading glasses. To be more sure, he even checked his suitcase. He checked each envelope and carefully searched everything with his palms. He also went roughly through the Holy Writ and the church times. Everything was fine, but there was one thing in the suitcase that was strongly confusing him. Do you mind telling me why you have brought this, sir? He held up a smallish, semi-inflated rubber ring, such as a young child with a waist of about 12 inches might have struggled into. You thinking of going for a swim, sir? McCleary's hitherto amiable demeanor was slightly ruffled by the tasteless little pleasantry, and he answered Jackson's somewhat sourly. If you must know, I suffer from hemorrhoids, and when I am sitting down for any length of time. Oh, very sorry, sir. I did not mean to. The embarrassment was still reddening Jackson's cheeks when he found the paper knife at the bottom of the case. I think I would better keep this though, if you don't mind. That is, sir. Hemorrhoids means a swollen vein or group of veins. It's a kind of disease, semi-inflated, half filled with air. Hitherto, previously, amiable, friendly, demeanor, attitude, ruffle, disarrange, pleasantry, joke, embarrass, unease, awkward. Explanation. Jackson asked McCleary as to why he had brought a half-filled rubber ring, a rubber ring which was not even fit for a small child with 12-inch waist. He asked him whether he was going for a swim. McCleary, who till now seemed very friendly, suddenly changed because of the tasteless joke he had made. So he told him that he suffers from hemorrhoids, and when he has to sit for a long time, he left his sentence incomplete. Jackson felt very embarrassed, awkward, but felt sorry for asking him all that. He then later on discovered the paper knife in the suitcase and said that he hoped McLeary did not mind if he kept it with him. It was 9:18 a.m. before the governor heard their voices again, and it was clear that the examination was going to be more than a little late in getting underway. McLeary, you have got a watch? Yes, sir. I'll be telling you when to start and again when you have 5 minutes left. All right? Silence. There is a plenty more of this writing paper should you need it. Silence. Now write the name of the paper 0211 in the top left hand corner. Silence. In the top right hand corner write your index number 313, and in the box just below that write your center number 271. Alright? Silence. 9:20 a.m. McLeary, I am going now. I am going to Evans. It's not going to stay here, is he? I don't know about that. Mr. Jackson gave me strict instructions too. Evans, how am I supposed to concentrate on my exam with someone breathing down my neck? Cries. Sorry, sir, I did not mean. The governor reached for the phone. Jackson, good. Get Stephens out of that cell, will you? I think we are perhaps overdoing things. As you wish, sir. So, my dear students, this part is very important because here, according to his planning, he has to do something inside the cell, and in presence of Stephens it was very difficult for him to do. So he did a little bit drama and requested indirectly, and it was granted also, and Stephens was out of that cell. Let me start the explanation. It was 9:18 a.m. when governor heard their voices again. It was understood that the exam will start a little late. McLeary queried Evans about having a watch. He answered yes. He said that he will tell him when to start, and he will again tell him when only 5 minutes will be left. Evans said nothing. McLeary gave him instructions about where to write the index number, center number, etc. He quietly followed it. When McLeary was about to say start, Evans interrupted him and looked at Stephens. Stephens answered that he has been ordered by Jackson to stay there for the exam. Evans complained of not being able to concentrate if someone will be constantly be watching him like this. He also felt sorry for this. Governor was listening, so he called Jackson and ordered him to get Stephens out of the cell, as he thought they were doing it a bit too much.